After pulling those cylinders off and getting those loosened up, that exhaust system was just hanging down there, and it's kind of in the way, and the way it's dangling and stuff, there's a good chance that something could get damaged. So I went ahead and pulled it off, and I can inspect it close that way a little better, clean it up and get it ready to put back on. But it's out of the way, and that makes it easier to work on the rest of the engine with that out of the way. So this muffler was just hanging back there. I decided to go ahead and take it off so I can pull the shrouds and get a better inspection of it than what I could with it on the airplane. Oh, this is the muffler. It's just a tube here. You get exhaust comes in one way from one set of stacks. Actually, you have one stack that attaches to one cylinder on one side and then goes all the way around and attaches to another cylinder on the other side. So example, it'll go from number 2 cylinder to number 3 cylinder and then come in here, and then the number 1 cylinder to number 4 cylinder will come in here. A regular muffler is a little larger diameter than this, and it has baffles in there and cones in there, and that's what the AD is for. You have to take that thing apart and inspect it every, I don't know whether it's 50 or 100 hours or something like that, because those baffles and cones will rust out or get burned out from the hot exhaust gases and stuff, and they'll come loose, and then they'll drop down into that tube and block the exhaust flow, which restricts the horsepower and can actually cause an engine stoppage. So this is an Atlee Dodge. They call it a hot rod muffler. It's basically pretty much a straight tube in there. It doesn't have any baffles in it, which eliminates that AD, and then it's got a great big stack down the bottom, so if anything does get in there, it'll just come right out. So it's doesn't have any restrictions to it for the exhaust, so it's supposed to improve horsepower and whatnot, but mainly it does away with that AD and the constant hassle of taking the muffler on and off to inspect it or opening it up. But I still want to inspect the muffler, because this shroud goes around here over this. There's some rings around that hold this off, and this is a aluminum shroud. This goes around here, and then when you get air forced into it there's an air port in the front of the baffling in front of the cylinder, and then there's another one on the back of the baffling, and it forces air in here, and the air goes through here, and then you can have it come out of one port here and go down into an air control box to give you heat in the cabin. And then there's another port that comes off of here and a hose that goes to the carburetor box for carburetor heat when you get carburetor icing. And then we've got this modified with the backseat heater kit. So we've got another port clamped on here. This one's clamped on here, which gives you another port, which gives you another outlet for the backseat heater. So we don't want exhaust gases, any cracks or anything like that in this muffler. In this tube would run exhaust gases into the cabin, and you don't want that, because of course carbon monoxide poisoning is not a good thing. So it's a good idea to take, in fact, it's a great idea to take this thing off once in a while and inspect all this so there's no cracks in there, so you make sure there's no exhaust leaks into the cabin. Oh, that's what we've done here now. That's the whole point of taking that off, is to, well, check for any cracks in it so we got no carbon monoxide and no excuses for getting high in the airplane or getting dead. Well, I've looked this thing over pretty good, and there's no indication in there at all of any cracks or any damage or anything on this thing. It looks pretty darn good. An ordinary muffler, usually I'd have to replace one of those about every 500 hours or so, send it in and get it rebuilt and get a new one. This one's been on here, I think, about 1,500 hours, and it doesn't look new, but it looks pretty darn good. We've got indications of rust out here on the outer end where the exhaust system comes into it, but it's not bad. There's no cracks or leaking around there that I can see around either end. And the exhaust end, the tube, looks really good. There are a few cobwebs in there, so there's some spiders going to get a rude awakening when this thing starts up, but It's not that much. It's not that big of a deal. There is some indication looking at this stack. You know, maybe not. I thought there might be some indication in this stack that there was some leakage, some backflow from this exhaust going up in there, but now that I get it out and look in it in the light, it's not. I don't see that in there. I just see some heat discoloration in there, but it all looks pretty darn good. This thing, and the muffler does take a beating because it gets pretty hot, and then you get that cold air coming in there, and especially here with the rain, the cold wet rain and stuff coming in through those intakes for it, and that cold rain will hit that muffler where it's hot. And a lot of times on a muffler you can see where there's a big bulge there where that rain and snow and cold air and stuff is hitting that muffler. And I see some swirls here in places where it's doing that, but I don't see any bulges or anything like that like I've seen on the other mufflers at times when I've taken them apart. Well, all in all, this thing looks pretty darn good. It's grungy as heck on this shroud from oil dripping down on it and stuff, from the engine oil leak dripping down on it. So I might want to clean that up, but otherwise it looks pretty darn good. Just a little cleanup work and she'll be good to go again.